AITA for telling my son too bad about having to do a 30-day jail sentence. I have 4 sons, 2 with my ex. I've been divorced from her since my oldest, Cody, was 10. We co-parented well until he turned 14 and was starting high school. He and his mother wanted him to go to a local school, Venice High, whereas I wanted him to go to private school. The odd thing is that my ex and I live in a very nice area, but the families often send their kids to private schools for high schools because they can afford it. Therefore, the local high school has a lot of empty seats and brings in kids who couldn't behave in their own schools. The local school is basically ghetto. There wasn't much I could do since my son was 14 and my ex was assuring me he wouldn't fall into the wrong crowd and I was simply stereotyping. My son thought Venice would be easier and he could walk home from school. Lo and behold, by the time Cody turned 18, he dropped out of high school and became a pothead. His days were filled with hanging out with other potheads he met at school and skating and trying to be cool. His mom said he was finding himself, had plans to learn a trade, get a GED, etc. This led to him and I becoming estranged. Things that his mom started to get crazy, so my other son decided to live at my place full time. My son told me that Cody and his mom were fucking with meth. It made sense in a lot of ways. There's not much you can do with a tweaker who doesn't want to get help. Earlier this year, Cody got busted for felony meth. I paid a lot of money for a lawyer and rehab so he could have the felony brought down to a misdemeanor upon completion of rehab and probation and would have his record erased. He did get a 1-month suspended sentence on the condition he didn't get any more felonies. He was about to finish his program and probation, but he got caught with felony meth again. This was after he visited his mother. So far he's never spent a single night in jail. He was always cited, but he will have to do the 30 days since he has a new felony charge. Technically, I could hire a lawyer to bring the new charge down to a misdemeanor so it won't count against him. A public defender could do the same, but not before his court date in 2 weeks, where he has to surrender for his 30-day term. I just decided to let him go to jail and I would be perfectly fine with it. My ex and Cody are begging me to help and I am. Info: did you support him even after he went to the ghetto school? It looks like you got over him and didn't try to help. Did you just abandon him and leave him with the mum? I graduated from a ghetto school and went to a top university in the country, lol, so don't put down these schools. It's all about who you surround yourself with and who raises you. Not sure if you neglected him after he decided to go to Venice High. NTA. I went through a similar experience with one of my own children. 10 days in jail and 90 days in a state-mandated rehab program. That experience was what turned them around, and it's now been 3 years of sobriety and a whole new life. They have to sit at the bottom of the well for a while before they're ready to start climbing out. And even then they have to do the work. Don't send your kid to a spa rehab center. Send them somewhere that will make them do the hard work. Best of luck to you and to your son. NTA. Clearly being supportive didn't work. Time for tough love. Once he's done, he needs to get away from wherever it is you live. It sounds like he needs change of community ASAP. You're NTA, but I'm side-eyeing you for calling the local public school ghetto. He's also blaming that school for his kid getting into drugs. Couldn't have had anything to do with his mother / taking meth, of course. Must be the school/s. AITA for saying that I make the rules in the house I inherited from my mother. Some background info: I 20M started to live with my bio father and his wife a week ago. My mother died when I was 18, and since this house has been passed down on my mother's family for generation, I legally inherited it. My mom and bio father divorced when I was 15. I was never really close to him, to be clear. If I were to rate our relationship, it will be 3/10. I don't know the reason, but we're just pretty civil to each other. Last year, he married this woman somewhere abroad, and although I was invited, I didn't go because that woman and me are practically strangers. We never talked before and I only know her appearance from a picture. Because of the pandemic, my bio father asked if they can live here for a while since his pay was recently cut down, so it's hard to keep living in their apartment. Since we have a decent relationship with each other and him saying that they'll agree to any condition I set. I won't dive further in the conditions, just normal roommate stuff, like not meddling with each other's business. I let them in last week. The first few days were actually pretty normal, just some snide comments from his wife when he's not around about my lifestyle, my house, my decorations, my garden and whatever she thinks is not good enough. I just always answer her with "it's my life, I'm an adult in my own home. I would appreciate it if you don't voice out your unsolicited opinions." Then yesterday, for whatever reason it is, she just barged into my room, demanded for me to be healthy and bond with them more, then proceeded to take my laptop, which I paid for, and my own separate modem, which I also pay for. Of course, I was irritated and said, "What the F are you doing?" She replied with, "I'm making you live a healthier life. From now on, I will regulate your use of internet and laptop. I will be in charge under this roof." After hearing that, I can't help but laugh. I just laughed real hard at her face. Like BTCH, this is my house and I provide for myself. I just answered her with, "You high on marijuana or something? Seems you forgot this is not your house. This is my house. You don't get to make the rules here." "I do. Disturb me once more and I'll make sure you'll live in the streets." My father is livid last night and he demanded me to apologize to her. Of course I didn't, lol. I just reiterated what I said to her, that this is my house and if they problems or whatsoever, they're free to live in the streets. Now some of my cousins are telling me that I shouldn't have used my house that I inherited from mom to shut them up, especially now due to the pandemic. I don't really care about the two of them, but I value my cousin's opinion. AITA here? NTA. Doesn't sound like you use the "my house" thing often. This is exactly when you should, when she somehow feels like she should be in control. In what world would she be the one making the rules? She sounds painfully entitled. Maybe this is a pride thing for her. You definitely needed to remind her where she lives. This kind of behavior is unacceptable. If your cousins have a problem with it, they can take them in. Plus, you know, if it was her house, she would be more than happy to let you know her house, her rules. NTA. They've broken the agreement, and you have every right to ask them to leave. Your cousins can take them in if they want to. NTA. But their behaviors are definitely going to escalate. Put them out before they can establish tenancy. Let the cousins who think you're wrong house them. Yes, things will escalate. Clearly this stepmother wants to establish dominance here. In a house she doesn't own, with an adult who isn't her child. Get them out now, because this is only going to get worse. NTA. NTA. They're free to move out if they don't like it. AITA for telling a tattoo artist he was making me uncomfortable and leaving a bad review. Yesterday for my sister-in-law's birthday, my husband, her and I all got matching tattoos. It was pretty spontaneous, so unfortunately I wasn't dressed super appropriately to get a tattoo where I did. I was wearing a bodysuit and a long skirt, nothing revealing, but still, not the best to get a tattoo on my thigh. I go last, and after learning where I wanted my tattoo, the artist immediately calls my husband into the room, yelling loudly for him to come in because he's about to have his wife half naked. I wasn't. My skirt on the side I was getting my tattoo on was tucked into my bodysuit. It was definitely nothing inappropriate or nothing was showing. He kept making jokes about how he didn't trust himself and was just being all around a little misogynistic. My husband didn't stop him because he knew I could handle it, and honestly I like defending myself, especially when a man is being misogynistic. I told him to stop making jokes because he was making me uncomfortable. He apologized and then started making comments to my husband about how much of a hard ass I was, and I'm sure I kept him on his toes, and made a pretty creepy joke about our sex life. I once again told him that was really inappropriate and made me super uncomfortable, and he told me to lighten up and take a joke, then made a comment about how since I had a tattoo on my ass, which was partially visible due to the position he was tattooing me in, he was surprised at how much of a prude I was being. At this point I decided to write a negative review about the artist himself, because I thought it was really rude that he kept making comments after I told him I was uncomfortable. Well, he found my Instagram because I follow the tattoo shop, I love the shop in general, and told me it was really shitty of me to write a negative review when he was just making jokes, and that the review will negatively reflect the shop. I told him to not do actions where people will feel the need to call him out on their shop's Google reviews. When I asked my friends their opinions, they told me I was harsh and leaving a review on the Google page was a little much, when I should have talked to the shop manager. Am I the asshole / did I overreact? Just a little update, I had the owner on Instagram who I have had discussions with before and who has tattooed me multiple times about my experience and how he had gone out of his way to message me and berate me for leaving the review, and she read it and didn't respond, and then on their Instagram today they posted how he had openings for walk-in tattoos. Unfortunately, I don't think talking directly to her instead of leaving a review would have been a better option. Absolutely NTA. As a woman, I would want to know if an artist I was considering to do work on me was going to be a misogynistic ass the entire time, so I could take my money elsewhere. You are definitely not the first client he has treated this way. Leaving a Google review was the right thing to do so other customers know the experience you had, and hopefully the public shaming will make him change his behavior. Talking to the manager likely wouldn't stop him from behaving like that anyway. NTA. Why are women so often told that it's their fault that they are offended by sexist, inappropriate comments because they can't take a joke? Why should they have to put up with this crap? You told him that you were upset, told him to stop, but he kept at it. If the negative review reflects poorly on the shop and on him, then so be it. Talking to the manager would have likely had little effect. Good for you for not letting this go unaddressed. NTA. Personally, I'd edit my review to add that he found your personal social media and contacted you in an unprofessional manner. Provide a screenshot or a copy of the message. You could also call the shop and tell them he contacted you. I agree. He still thinks the whole problem is Op's refusal to tolerate his garbage. Double down on it when he stalked her Instagram account and actually argued with her about it. I would post the screenshots in the reviews, in addition to editing my review to add in the stalking information. NTA, you gave him the chance to correct his behavior and he didn't, so he's paying the consequences. As a woman, I would be glad for a review like that so I know to avoid him if I were to go to the shop.